Cosmos 482 that could potentially fall in Brazil, and there's been increasing space debris in the region. The metal sphere in Buga refers to an unexplained metallic object that fell in Colombia and is currently under ufological scrutiny. Again, it's not an ology, but whatever. And here's a 3D rendering of it, and a lot of people think this is alien stuff. So there's that. We'll continue to follow that. Someone had suggested that the person who was at the Pirates game that fell off the wall was fake and CGI, and that's called auto disbelief. When it's on TV, so you just say it's fake, even though you may not have enough information to rule it out as real. You have to consider all the possible ways of testing the story. Well, there has been a follow-up to it, and he was in critical condition, broke his back and his collarbone, but new footage has emerged. He was jumping and celebrating when he fell. So it seems to be real. I don't think it's fake. I think it's outside the scope of fakeability to fall 20 feet like that in front of an audience. I mean, possibly, but no, I don't think this one is fake. But just a follow-up. And then there's this. If you are not a subscriber to John LeBon, I'll make sure I share a link. He has his clip show Focus. So you know how he does these shows where he takes clips of different podcasts and he talks about it? Well, he's doing this new one where he focuses on one particular podcast. And he talked about the IPS deprogram from the 25th of last month. We talked about a lot that day. And I think one of the things that he was curious about was my contention that all they did in Antarctica was they burned a straw man. And what I mean by this is that whatever they did, they destroyed the flat earth model as model believers have held on to it. I've said from the very beginning that this is not a model first conversation, that we don't have enough information to say we have a complete model. And if our starting point is we don't agree with the one we've been shown, as in if you don't trust the globe model as presented because the scientific establishment is full of CGI and lies, well then you can't say you have a complete model. So the idea of a flat earth model versus a globe model was fallacious from the get-go. It's an either-or fallacy. Just because it's not this doesn't mean it's this. Just because NASA's lying doesn't mean the Bible's version is true. So when I say they destroyed a straw man, they did, in the sense that this is supposedly what the flat earth topic was about, this domed flat earth with the spiraling sun. And that's a misrepresentation. Only a small percentage of the people who get into this topic think that's the truth. What they really have is doubt about the main model. So it's not even about shape. It's about worldview and how you get that worldview. It could be a ball. I mean, I don't have any refutation to what a 24-hour sun would mean, but whatever we're shown from space isn't what we're on, because what they're showing us is an artistic rendering, an interpretation. And my take on it, let's say it is a spinning ball, 25K circumference going around the sun as advertised, fine. Doesn't bother me one bit. However, what's the point of falsely representing it from outside? Are they hiding land? Atlantis, perhaps. Maybe the place where Bezos is going to mine asteroids is really just on the other side of, well, somewhere out in the uncharted waters. You know, like, for example, the pole of inaccessibility, where Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea takes place, where NASA supposedly drops all their satellites, the spacecraft cemetery, where H.P. Lovecraft pinned the location of the sunken city where the old ones dwell, Cthulhu and such, in his mythos. Like, it's a pretty remote place. For all we know, that's where the Crisis Actor Island is. But my point is, I don't trust the history. I don't trust the news. Why would I trust the maps? So all they did was they burned a straw man, because the flat earther, as somebody who's attached to this alternate shape, is a straw man. There isn't really anybody aside from Mark Sargent that fits that particular model. I would argue that the flat earther is a misnomer, that you should call them media skeptics who are just full of questions and have rejected the establishment view of things. But part of being a skeptic is suspending judgment. And how long do you suspend it? Well, I'm going to suspend it for 5 more years at least. I want to see. Because they've had plenty of time to provide evidence to substantiate their claims since these questions have been raised. And all they've done is made themselves look increasingly ridiculous. Unless any of you were convinced by Kate Perry going to space. I wasn't. I didn't see the curve, but Jaron did. He said, I can see the curve, guys. Really? You can see the curve from 50 miles up? Show me the math on that. Because that sounds like curvert math, not math. Not objective observation. It looks like maybe a bias. Alex Jones said, will James O'Keefe's highly anticipated expose reveal that AG Pam Bondi is the Trump administration official responsible for covering up the Jeffrey Epstein files. That was what he posted, and then he deleted it. Why did he delete it? I don't know. The plot thickens. We'll see. Here's a video from the ISS looking at space, and you see nothing but stars. Am I the only one that's confused by this? How many times have we seen footage from the ISS and space is just black? Sometimes you see bubbles. Because sometimes, of course, they mistakenly reveal that, for the most part, spacewalks are filmed underwater. But somebody explain how they suddenly have stars. Is that new? Are they going to Mandela affect that into our existences? David says grays might be demonic entities through dimensions and not planets. Well, it's more likely they're subterranean. They're beneath our feet, watching our every moves. They're beneath the oceans, or perhaps they exist here. But yeah, the idea that they're from some distant planet is kind of ludicrous. Even if there were distant life and the universe were constructed as such, I don't know what the incentive would be to drive this far or fly this far. I think the grays represent the ultimate synthesis of all of the dialectics. The black and the white become grays. When we all merge into one world, you collapse all the borders, we have one world. The alien invasion, the ubiquitous alien invasion, all the different nations invading each other is what we're talking about with the one world. And so there we have the alien invasion is really just the achievement of all of their ends when the black and the whites in all these dualities, polarities are reconciled. 1 second here. I have an Uber gig, so let me go ahead and get this caller on really quick. Calm down. Hey, what's up? Calm down.
Hey, what's up? I was just wondering.
Good to hear you. Thanks for calling.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. Go ahead. Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
I called you like a week ago or something. Like, I was wondering, did you watch that video about the twins, the Challenger hoax twins video?
Oh yeah, I did look through your channel. I shared it on my channel as well, and a lot of us have been talking about truther bait, and it seems like this idea that all these Challenger astronauts are still alive was some initial misdirection, and I'm pretty sure it came from NASA itself, that they do their own misdirection.
Well, it's possible, man. I don't. My videos are not like, yeah, it's definitely him. It's just like I'm just comparing them, you know. I'm just showing it, you know. But like if you look at the original Clues forum, they talking and this is in like 2015. People are saying that maybe they found someone that looked just like that person, and then they made their fake name that person's name, you know, as far as Resnick and Krista McCullough. I don't know. I just think that Scooby, the guy, the Cows and Trees guy, is for sure Scooby. The other ones I'm not sure about, but if one's alive, they're all alive, you know. But yeah, it could totally be bait, you know.
Well, it's interesting to see how they pull this stuff off. I've always been interested in spycraft, and then we get into deep fakery. And long before digital deepfakes, they figured out how to create these hyper-realistic masks that are indistinguishable from that person. So there's no telling what they have up their sleeves as far as magic tricks. But what is certain in my view is that the Challenger disaster was actually a major psychological operation and a hoax. But I'm interested in all these explanations for how it happened, but we can't settle on bad evidence.
It was totally planned, or that maybe the space shuttle is always remotely launched, and then they just had an accident, and then they had to make up the psyop, or do you think it was totally planned from the beginning?
Oh, I think it was planned, and one of the reasons why is if you look at William Cooper's breakdown program, he says that they're conveying to us a story, and the story with these shuttles is a Columbian endeavor to discover Atlantis, and the Challenger will be destroyed. So he says there's this meta story being told to us through the space program, which I think is our journey into becoming a one world. But also the names of the shuttles tell the story. The Columbian endeavor to discover Atlantis, Challenger will be destroyed. It fits this story, and when I look at it from that perspective, and then the timing of it, 1 minute 13 seconds, Columbia explodes, the 113th launch. The correlation between the date of the Challenger explosion and the Apollo 1 disaster, Sir Francis Drake dying. There are so many that I'm like, no, this is a pre-planned, ritualistic aerial immolation sacrifice ritual hoax.
Yeah. And also like the guy Scooby, right? His son is now head of the Air Force, but he looks nothing like the guy Scooby. But his stepdad, like the so-called widow remarried like real quick in like a year or year and a half, met some dude, married him like a couple months later. But the guy that runs the Air Force looks like his son, not the astronaut that supposedly died. Did you ever look at that?
No, I have not, but that's an interesting connection there in itself. And somebody had mentioned the teacher that blew up and how they're like she was randomly picked out of 11,000 entries. And I was like, my explanation was, there's no way a random person gets pulled into something like this. That's called a backstory. Like everything about the space program is a story. It's one of the best examples of the Metascript, where you have a story that they wrote this in advance. From 1969 to this year, we're going to get into orbit. Then we're going to have a space station. Then we're going to go to the moon. But there's been a pattern here. Before every major advance, they have a major tragedy with fire. Apollo 1 precedes going to the moon. The Challenger proceeds going into the regular orbit with the space station. And I think the next phase is the ISS goes down, fiery immolation. They've already said they're going to do it exactly as I predicted. It's going to be fiery when Musk pulls it down. And I even said that he was going to be responsible. I put this in a book, Metascript, in 2020, that Musk was going to be involved with the fiery demolition of the ISS. But after that, we go to Mars. After that, we have our moon base.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember or you were alive, but when I was little, the Skylab was falling or something like that. And I was probably like 4 or 5, but that was on the news all the time. And everyone was scared about the Skylab was going to fall anywhere. It could fall anywhere in America and shit. Remember that shit?
I don't remember it, but I've looked back. They had space junk helmets in Australia. I remember looking into it for a couple of reasons. I think that it was, and I need to double check it, but I remember looking into the date and timing of it. What date did Skylab fall?
Oh yeah, Skylab, not Space Lab.
Okay, so the date that it fell, this whole crash, was on 7/11, July 11th, 1979, Indian Ocean, Western Australia. And I think it also had some other significant numbers attached to it, like it weighed 42,000 pounds or something. We're always talking about this. Yeah, it was July 11th, 1979.
Have you ever seen the NASA film for the Skylab, and it has all this stuff about gyroscopes in it? It's really bad. It's a really bad movie.
I'll probably have to watch it. Some movies are so bad that I call them bad good, because it's like, yeah, you have to watch it. It's that bad.
Hey, but you were talking about Q, and what I remember, the first person to hype it up was Tracy Beans, and then Defango, and then LTV, and then just a bunch of other channels hyped out all that shit up, and like most of those channels have all disappeared off of YouTube. They're like on BitChute or something.
Oh, like Lift the Veil. Talk to Isaac Cappy before Isaac Cappy fake died. And all these individuals, in my opinion, are operatives, agents, propaganda mules. I don't trust any of them. And they're all false flaggers. They think everything's real. 1 foot in the matrix, 1 foot out.
LTV and Jaren, they started Midnight in the Desert, like Art Bell's old thing. They tried to do that, but I think it failed. But maybe it's still going on. I don't know.
No, I was the program manager at the time, and we were paying Jaren $200 a night to be the board for Lift the Veil. And one of the nights I was on a group call, and Jared and I ended up talking, and he spent like an hour angrily whining at me for not believing that he saw the ISS, for claiming that he faked his transits. He can't get over that. But it was, in fact, hosted by Lift the Veil for a little while. And he, I'm not sure what, you know what he did, Lift the Veil, is he saw how our business operated, and he decided to do his own thing. He kind of tried to copy it. So he and his girlfriend or something made a website, had some merch, and then disappeared after that.
I always thought that dude was a plant. I mean, he promoted Pizzagate real heavy, and then QAnon. And
well, I think
also
he was
from Hollywood.
Yes, he was QAnon, Pizzagate, and he was in a John Waters movie. So yeah, you got the Hollywood connection. So yeah, I found all that to be very questionable. And for the Dark Matter, Midnight in the Desert, formerly Art Bell, it was just a hive of CIA agents, in my opinion, or feds or something. And I speak from experience. The people I'm talking to, or was talking to, very questionable. And what I think they did is they gatekept alternative thought through the AM radio, and then the same agents went straight over to YouTube. And there's a lot of fascinating overlap between these different characters that I could get into.
AM radio to YouTube.
Yeah, it just to me looks like an intelligent.
Yeah.
And at the very forefront of that was Art Bell, who went to digital after leaving AM. And I look at all the people that he interviewed and how it was gatekept. And I talked to one of the primary gatekeepers, who was the guy who worked for Clark Gable's grandson. And he also worked on the TV show Cheaters with Alex Stein. And he and Alex Stein both told me that everything on TV is fake. Alex, because I signed an NDA. So Alex Stein was part of the PSYOP entertainment complex before he got into the whole flat earth thing with Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole and Jerry.
Yeah, that dude just showed up out of nowhere, and all of a sudden he has a bunch of followers, and he's just totally, who is this guy?
Life.
Yeah,
but this has been
I
a
thought
great
it was
call.
weird.
Appreciate the information.
You know,
and share your channel. I'll link it again.
Challenger hoax. Also, calm down.
Yeah, Challenger hoax, and I got the link here.
Yeah.
Okay, good. You're the same person. Calm down. Gotcha. I see you guys. Calm down in there. Okay, cool. Very, very nice. Well, hey, again, thanks for the call. Call back anytime. Great information, good channel. I'll review your latest videos and call back anytime.
All right, later, dude.
All right, everyone, that's Challenger Hoax. I do have to exit here. I have a appointment I'm a little bit late to, no big deal. But thanks for hanging out. Appreciate all of the comments as usual. So Drastic Liars called in some interesting intel regarding the Rodney Hinton Jr. hoax. Again, this is the one whose 18-year-old son was killed by the police, and as a seeming retaliatory act, he ran over a cop. So I read about this, and I was like, okay, this is probably fake based on the circumstances and how it's being presented. But JL calls in to let us know that, in fact, the cop who was killed was born on 6/11 and got started at that time, 6/14. Fascinating connections. My computer's crashing, so I'm just going to have to shut it off. It's crashing in a very strange way. It's been happening since JL called. It's so blurry, I can't even see the screen. So I'm not even sure how to end this stream, to be quite honest. So not sure. I guess I'm going to just turn the computer off.